The question is, what kind of coverage will my plan give me if I want to see my daughters out of state and something happens to me while I'm there? Okay, so the answer is going to be based on what kind of coverage that you've got. Here's basically what it is. First of all, if you've got employer coverage, contact your employer's HR department or benefits administrator, whoever does that. If you've got a small employer and they don't have either of those things, take out your card, flip it over, call the number on the card of your insurance company and ask them. Generally, there is some kind of coverage for when you're going out of state, but the employer plans, they've got their own rules that they have to follow, and I can't tell you what they are because it changes from plan to plan. Now, the plans that I can help you with. If you have a Medicare supplement, this is where it's really easy, and this is kind of one of the biggest distinguishing factors between Medicare supplements and Medicare Advantage plans. If you have a Medicare supplement, you're good. Anyone with a traditional Medicare supplement can go to any doctor, any hospital, anywhere in the United States that takes Medicare, which is most of them. Grant you it's not 100%, but it is most of them. If they take the supplement, if they take Medicare, they take the supplement. You do not have a problem with it. You do have out-of-state coverage. Out-of-country coverage is a little bit different. The question is just asking about state. Country is something different, so we're not going to deal with that here. But if you live in Ohio and you've got to go visit your daughter in California, you didn't say where, whatever state it is, it doesn't matter. Just go. If you've got a supplement, you've got the coverage. Emergency, non-emergency, routine, it doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, if we have a client that tells us they spend several months of the year living in another state, say they're here in the summer, they're in Arizona in the wintertime, you pretty much, your best option, I should say, not the only one, but the best option for you is a Medicare supplement. You really shouldn't even consider the other alternatives for that. So with the supplement, you're good, just go. Now, if you have an Advantage plan, this is where things get a little bit more tricky. First thing I'll say, if this is an emergency that you're caring about, if it's an emergency that you need to see a doctor for, or need to go to the hospital for, just go. You've got coverage. You don't have to worry about it. It doesn't matter what kind of plan it is that you've got. If it's an emergency care that you need, you have that coverage within your Medicare Advantage plan. If it is urgent, not emergency, but urgent care that you're talking about, you probably have that coverage, but it's not 100%. Some Advantage plans say that they'll allow you to go to any hospital in emergencies and urgent care. Not all of them do. They all say emergencies, but not all of them will say urgent care. So that's something to check with your summary of benefits. Now, if you're asking, what if you want to go see a doctor, it's not urgent, it's not an emergency, you're out of state, but you really don't want to wait till you get back home, and you have an Advantage plan. That's where things get a little bit more tricky. So here's what you've got. There's basically three types of Medicare Advantage plans. There's an HMO, there's a PPO, and there's something called a private fee-for-service plan. They're listed on your card as PFFS, and it should say on the front of each card in parentheses which one it is. A few other variations, but for the most part, those are the three types. In the states that I work, the two primary ones are HMOs and PPOs. The private fee-for-service, unfortunately, is kind of, there's a few left, but the benefits are not as rich as they used to be a few years ago. Here's what those means. The HMOs mean that except in emergencies, or in some cases urgent services, you must use doctors and hospitals that are part of that network. So if you're out of state, there is a very reasonable chance to assume that your network does not extend out of the state that plan has been offered in. you may want to call your insurance company. In this case, don't call me, because you're going to need something a little bit faster than I can get you and a little bit more specific to your situation and where you are. Call the insurance company directly. Ask them, is there a doctor that I can see just this one time or just temporarily because I'm kind of out of this area? If it's a PPO plan, the terms are you can use any doctor or hospital as long as they use Medicare, but there is still a network. Now, in the network, you pay one set of copays. If the doctor you wind up seeing is out of that network and it's not an emergency, you're going to pay a different set of copays, possibly a deductible as well. Possibly an additional deductible as well. Your plan may have a deductible in network as well. If that is that may happen. So with a PPO, you do have that coverage out of network, but there is a very real possibility that you will incur increased charges as a result of you going out of network. Now again, these are things that the insurance companies kind of tell you up front, but you usually don't think about it until that thing comes up. If you're our client, if you're someone who's working with us, we're going to talk to you beforehand about making sure, okay, if this is a real possibility, that you go into this with your eyes open. Even if you are in the state, you could wind up having an issue seeing a doctor, because not all doctors accept all plans, and also it is possible that you're going to be seeing a doctor that's out of state. You're going to be seeing a new doctor that's in state. He could be out of network. What you don't want to do is you don't want to just go to the doctor's office and say, hey, do you take this plan? And they answer with, yes, we take this company. You want to find out, do we take the insurance specifically that you have? The only real way to do that is to ask the insurance company directly. The doctor's office is not responsible for making sure that the insurance is taken by the insurance that you have is taken by them. You are responsible. If you work with us, we are going to make sure that we check to make sure the insurance you go into is taken by the doctor that you want to see, at least at the time that they check. The doctors can come and go from networks whenever they want, even though you can't. But it is important that you check that. That is, again, one of the reasons why it's very important to find out, what is the network coverage before selecting a plan. People in Medicare supplements, okay, everybody scoffs at the prices of Medicare supplements. I understand that. It's certainly something that is worth scoffing about. At the same time, Medicare supplements, you do get something for those premiums. You do those premiums do buy you something, and what they buy you, if nothing else, those premiums do buy you the freedom of choice to go to any doctor or hospital in the United States that takes Medicare, which is a lot. It's significantly more than the in-network providers of an HMO plan. Or even the in-network providers of a PPO plan. So keep that in mind. Premiums aren't everything, but they are something. But they are buying you something as well. There is a bit of a reward for doing that. If you have Medicare Advantage, you're not out of luck. Here's what I guarantee you. I will give you. I don't really give guarantees when we do something like this, even though my whole job is guarantees. But I will guarantee this: if you need to go out of state to see someone, I guarantee you the insurance company has some sort of provision in place for if you go out of state for you to see a doctor on a non-emergency basis if you're in an Advantage plan. Because they do not want to see themselves on the 6 o'clock news or wherever news is given right now in your area with you telling a reporter that you were visiting your daughter, your son, you were out on vacation, and they denied you coverage because on a non-emergency basis because it was out of network. They do not want to see themselves there. There is a provision. Now, what I won't say is that the doctor that they're going to make you see is the best doctor, the ideal doctor that you want to see in that area because it's out of network. No. Or even the most convenient for you if it's out of network. But they've got a provision where if you're going out of state, you will be able to see somebody. It may not be ideal, but if you're in a networked plan and you need to go out of network, you're kind of asking them to make some exceptions anyway. So, I mean, there's only so much you can really complain about. There's something on every Medicare Advantage plan if you're out of state, you want to see somebody on a non-emergency basis, and it's not part of your main network, there'll be something there, but I mean, it may not be the most convenient. If this is something that it sounds like you don't want to have to deal with, you want to see whatever doctor you want to see. You don't want to have to deal with networks. You don't want to have to deal with out of network problems, anything like that. Then the Medicare Advantage plan, if you're our client, we will tell you the Medicare Advantage program really is not for you. Get yourself a Medicare supplement because you don't have a network to deal with.